Good evening. This is your top 20 USA breaking news roundup. Fast, factual, and verified. Each story is confirmed by multiple trusted outlets. Let's begin. But tonight, as we sift through these headlines, let's look beyond the facts and figures. Let's consider the invisible threads that connect them, the quiet anxieties and profound hopes they stir within us. Because behind every legal challenge, every diplomatic journey, every shift in power, there are lives, futures, and the very fabric of our society at stake. These aren't merely isolated incidents. They are chapters in a larger unfolding narrative that shapes our nation and our world. Imagine for a moment a community far from our shores, relying on a promise of aid, a lifeline, perhaps for vital infrastructure, medical supplies, or educational programs. Then the news breaks. The Supreme Court has temporarily paused a lower court order requiring the Trump administration to release $4 billion in foreign aid, part of a broader $11 billion package. This isn't just a legal maneuver, a procedural hiccup in the halls of justice. It's a ripple effect, a moment of suspended breath for those who wait, for those whose very survival might depend on these funds. It underscores the ongoing debates over executive authority and foreign assistance, yes, but more deeply, it highlights the fragility of promises, the immense power held in the balance of a single court's decision. What does it mean for international relations when aid becomes a political football, subject to the whims of domestic legal battles? And what message does it send to those nations who rely on American commitments? When those commitments can be so readily challenged and delayed, the implications stretch far beyond the immediate financial impact, touching on trust, stability, and the very nature of global leadership. This sense of unease isn't isolated. It resonates deeply within our own borders. A recent Reuters Ipsos poll reveals a growing anxiety among Americans about moves to expand presidential power. Concerns aren't abstract. They touch on tangible actions, such as federal troop deployments in cities, a sight that evokes historical parallels and raises questions about civil liberties. They also extend to increased executive control over regulations, potentially bypassing legislative processes designed to ensure broad representation. It's a fundamental question echoing in homes across the nation. Where do the boundaries of power truly lie? How much is too much? And who protects us when those lines begin to blur? When the checks and balances designed to safeguard our democracy appear to be under strain. This isn't merely a partisan issue, it's a foundational one, touching on the very principles upon which our republic was built. The poll suggests a collective apprehension, a recognition that the concentration of power, regardless of who wields it, carries inherent risks to the democratic ideal. Then, a development that sends a shiver down the spine of anyone who values checks and balances and the traditional structures of governance. The White House has established what is being called a War Directorate, following a Pentagon rebrand. This isn't just a name change, a bureaucratic reshuffling. It's a structural shift, centralizing decisions under the president's direct authority, moving influence away from the National Security Council. The National Security Council, historically, has served as a forum for diverse perspectives from various agencies, ensuring that complex foreign policy and military decisions are thoroughly vetted. When that council of many is replaced by the decree of one, or a very small, tightly controlled group, it begs the question, in moments of crisis, who holds the reins? What happens to the critical debate, the differing viewpoints, the institutional wisdom that traditionally informs such grave decisions? This move could signify a profound alteration in how national security is managed, potentially streamlining decision-making at the cost of comprehensive deliberation and accountability. The historical record is replete with examples of both the benefits and dangers of centralized power, and this new directorate invites careful scrutiny of its long-term implications for both domestic and international stability. Amidst these grand debates over power and policy, individual lives hang in the balance. often with devastating consequences. A U.S. court has rejected a legal challenge to the administration's decision to end legal status for thousands of migrants. This ruling, while highlighting a firm stance on immigration policy, carries a profound human cost. For families who have built lives, contributed to communities, and dreamed of a stable future in this country, this isn't a mere policy pronouncement. It's a shattered hope, a forced reckoning with an uncertain tomorrow. Children who have known no other home face the prospect of displacement, and adults who have invested years of their lives here must now confront the daunting challenge of starting anew, often in countries they barely remember. Advocacy groups are considering appeals, fighting tirelessly for what they see as fundamental human rights and the principle of compassion. But for now, the path forward for these individuals narrows, filled with fear and desperation. This legal decision forces us to confront the tension between national sovereignty and humanitarian responsibility, a tension that continues to define much of the global discourse on migration. Yet the system, though strained, still pushes back, demonstrating its inherent resilience. In a separate decision, a federal court has blocked the administration from shutting down agencies focused on small business, labor, and museums. Judges ruled such closures cannot happen without congressional approval. This isn't just a legal victory, a triumph of one branch of government over another. It's a testament to the enduring strength of our institutions. A powerful reminder that even in the face of immense pressure, there are guardians of stability, voices that insist on due process and collective decision-making. It's a small breath of relief for those who believe in the power of shared governance, for those who understand that the deliberate, often slow, process of legislative approval is a cornerstone of democratic accountability. This ruling reaffirms the principle that executive power is not absolute, and that significant governmental changes require the consent of the people's representatives. It highlights the crucial role of the judiciary in upholding the constitutional framework, even when it means challenging the executive branch. But even the guardians face scrutiny, and the mechanisms of justice themselves are not immune to questioning. Judges and legal experts are voicing frustration over the Supreme Court's use of the so-called shadow docket. Critics argue this practice, allowing quick rulings without full hearings, without the benefit of extensive briefing and oral arguments, creates confusion in high-profile cases, particularly in politically sensitive ones. The shadow docket, by its very nature, operates with less transparency and less public deliberation than the court's regular docket. It raises a fundamental question about justice itself. Can true justice be swift and silent? Or does it demand transparency, deliberation, and the full light of public scrutiny? When decisions are made rapidly, with minimal explanation, and often late at night, it can erode public trust in the impartiality and thoroughness of the highest court in the land. The debate over the shadow docket is not just about legal procedure. It's about the perception of fairness, the legitimacy of judicial authority, and the very integrity of our legal system. Beyond the courts and the White House, another pillar of our stability faces its own test, one that directly impacts the economic well-being of every citizen. The Federal Reserve faces a pivotal week as questions rise about its political independence. With upcoming appointments to its board and a major policy meeting on the horizon, analysts are watching closely for signals on interest rates and governance. The Fed's independence, historically, has been seen as crucial for maintaining economic stability, allowing it to make decisions based on economic data rather than political expediency. For every family planning a mortgage, every business considering expansion, every individual saving for retirement, the Fed's independence isn't an abstract concept. It's the bedrock of their financial future, now potentially swayed by political winds. A politicized central bank could lead to decisions that prioritize short-term political gains over long-term economic health, potentially fueling inflation or stifling growth. The stakes are incredibly high, and the outcome of this week's events could have profound and lasting effects on the nation's economy. Meanwhile, the world doesn't stand still, and our internal struggles play out on a global stage. where alliances are forged and peace is constantly negotiated, often in the shadow of conflict. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio will travel to Israel and Britain this week. The trip is aimed at strengthening diplomatic ties, addressing international court challenges, and reaffirming U.S. support in key regions. Such diplomatic missions are not mere formalities. They are intricate dances of negotiation, reassurance, and strategic alignment. In a world grappling with geopolitical shifts, regional conflicts, and evolving threats, the role of diplomacy becomes ever more critical. Rubio's visit underscores the complex web of international relations, where every handshake, every statement, and every commitment carries significant weight. It's a reminder that our nation's security and prosperity are inextricably linked to the stability and cooperation of our global partners. Amidst these complexities and divisions, there are also moments of shared purpose and economic optimism that offer a glimpse of a different kind of strength. The United Kingdom and the United States are preparing to sign a multi-billion-dollar technology partnership during President Trump's upcoming visit. This deal, along with American financial firms pledging $1.7 billion in new investments for the United Kingdom, speaks to a different kind of strength: the power of cooperation, of shared prosperity, and the enduring bonds that transcend political turbulence. In an era often defined by protectionism and nationalistic tendencies, such partnerships highlight the mutual benefits of collaboration, particularly in cutting-edge sectors like technology. These agreements not only promise economic growth and job creation, but also reinforce strategic alliances, demonstrating that even amidst internal political disagreements, nations can find common ground and pursue shared interests for collective advancement. And in a world often defined by division, a small, cautious step towards dialogue offers a fragile yet vital hope. A bipartisan delegation of U.S. lawmakers will visit China later this month. It marks the first official House visit since 2019, reflecting cautious steps to maintain communication between Washington and Beijing. The relationship between the United States and China is arguably the most critical bilateral relationship in the world, fraught with economic competition, geopolitical tensions, and ideological differences. Yet, despite these deep divides, the necessity of dialogue remains paramount. This visit, though perhaps modest in its immediate impact, represents a crucial effort to keep lines of communication open, to prevent misunderstandings from escalating, and to explore potential areas of cooperation. It's a fragile hope, perhaps, but a vital one: the belief that even the deepest divides can be bridged, one conversation at a time, one cautious diplomatic step after another. It reminds us that even when trust is low, engagement is often the only path forward. These aren't just headlines. They are chapters in an unfolding story, a narrative of power, resistance, and the relentless pursuit of balance. They remind us that the health of our democracy, the stability of our economy, and the fate of individuals are not predetermined. They were shaped, day by day, by decisions made in courtrooms, in diplomatic halls, and in the quiet anxieties of a nation. Each event, whether a legal ruling, a policy shift, or a diplomatic overture, contributes to the intricate tapestry of our collective future. That concludes today's Top 20 USA News Stories. All reports have been confirmed through multiple reputable sources. For further details, please see links in the description. Stay informed, subscribe for daily updates, and join us again tomorrow. Because in this complex tapestry of events, your understanding, your engagement, and your voice matter more than ever.